Welcome to Leadershipisation, all things leadership. My name is Beth Bergen, and my goal is to build influential leaders. I'm a leadership and communication coach, and I work with executives, business owners, managers, and their teams. And for me, it's all about building their leadership intelligence. I am here live most Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Look, in the previous session that we did, in my timing, it was last week, we explored positive disagreement, healthy conflict, and the benefits. And we looked at some strategies to embed this desire to work with healthy conflict and to maximize the benefits of healthy conflict into your culture. And this session, what we're going to do is move on a step from there. We're going to look at what are the tools that you can actually use. What are tools that you can use to approach disagreement and to approach this healthy conflict so that you can actively influence a positive outcome. Now, before we start, this is kind of that big remembering thing for you. Remember this: diverse ideas, diverse opinions, diverse discussion is exactly what you need to fuel great ideas for your organization. So I think I've got about 10 of these here. For you, these are the tips. These are the tips for you. In order for you to be able to embed this healthy conflict culture into your organization, here's your first thing. Remember that it doesn't actually matter who's right or who's wrong. Let it go. If you're going to have healthy conflict, then it's all about focusing on a solution and reminding yourself that it doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong. There's no judgment. There's no saying, I've lost this, because as we learned last week, it's all about, hey, we'll have the conversation, but then we're going to actually get involved. Then we're going to really have that conversation and we'll back whatever decision. So bringing an open mind to the conversation so that it doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong is vital. Second tip, personal agendas must be left at the door. Leave them at the door. It's the idea, not the person that you're agreeing with. It's not about the person, it's their ideas. So it's not personal. And what we're doing here the entire time is we're looking to promote and to absolutely prioritize unity. Consensus, as I just said earlier, it's not mandatory. If you lose, you move on. Losing is about that personal agenda. Winning is about the quality of the conversation that you're actually having and the gaps in knowledge that you're filling in so that the best possible decision can actually be taken for the organization. Number three, focus forward on the outcome, the benefits, and the results. So you've got to move past old disagreements. Not about taking all of that historical tension that might have come from past disagreements into the meeting with you. It's about letting go of ego and looking forward with solutions. You might remember there was a great, a collaborative song. We Are the World, I think it was called, that Quincy Jones organised with really well-known artists from throughout the world, got into the same room to produce this song, which was going to be a fundraiser. I love it. I love that song. It's just fantastic, and you can almost hear the different voices. But Quincy Jones was really clear to all of those artists that they needed to leave their ego at the door. And it's really important that you do the same thing so that you can focus forward on the outcomes. Number 4, reflect on your role as a communicator. You're the person who's looking to embed this. You're really the advocate for conversations about to do with the healthy conflict. You're wanting to encourage it. So reflect on your role very much as a communicator. Things like this: is what I am about to say about me? Is what I am about to say about me? Are you making it about you? What do I not know? Remember, we talked about the gaps in people's knowledge. So what do I not know? And the third question to ask yourself is, what might I learn? What might I learn? So that what you're doing here is actually taking responsibility for being an awesome communicator. We talked about that open mind. Ask yourself those questions, not only before the conversation, but during the conversation. It will really benefit the final outcome. Number 5, learn to use yes and. Now, yes and is an awesome tool because you can listen. It's not about disagreeing, it's listening, and it's then saying yes and after the and you build on what they say, or you pivot to in a completely different direction. So it's not about getting ready to argue with them. It's, oh, okay, yes, and move it over here to something else. Either build on what they say or pivot. Build on what they say or pivot. Remember that it's okay to disagree respectfully. We're not slamming people. We're listening, we're sharing honestly, and we're being really curious. Use yes, I agree with this bit, or yeah, I love that, and build on it, or yes, and complete change of direction to pivot. Number 6, how are we going here? We're getting through them quite quickly. Number 6, this kind of comes right off the back of what I just said about listening, sharing honestly, and being curious. I want you to think about using curiosity as a really positive weapon. You're here to be someone's ally. You're here to reach a common decision that everyone's going to run with. You're not their adversary. So think about using gentle curiosity. Not hard in questions like, why would you want to be doing that? But something softer. Help me understand the thinking that led to that. Think about being that gentle curiosity. Make sure that what you're doing is letting your ego go. That's a common thing here. In order for us to have healthy conflict, we've got to be prepared to let our ego go. We also need to be willing to unlearn. One thing to learn new skills, sometimes what you've got to do is completely unlearn the way that you've gone about having these kind of conversations before. Importantly, what you're going to do is recognize and then absolutely manage your own emotions, so that if you feel yourself getting steamed, you're regulating that emotion and bringing it down. So be aware of different perspectives, of different viewpoints that people bring and how these land for you. Oh, that should take my cough away. I hope so. Number 7, leave emotions out of it. put them to one side. It's not about finger pointing. It's not about an emotional conversation. It's about having an intellectual one about the actual information. And it's important here that you remember what is the impact on the organization likely to be. You're going to focus on having respectful conversations, and you're going to be matching your verbal and non-verbal with the verbal and non-verbal of others in the room. You're wanting to bring each other on a journey. And that's really important. So leave those emotions totally to one side. Number 8, make sure that during the conversation, what you're doing is creating alternative options. Now, sometimes when there's healthy conflict, we've got group A here and we've got group B here, or person A here and person B here. What we want to do is we want to explore the alternative options. And I'm waving my hands around a whole lot because it's the gap in between the two is where the alternative options are going to sit. So explore what sits between your right and their right. And with creative thinking, you can identify maybe a third, a fourth, a fifth option or alternative that uses some of their thinking and some of your thinking. So that's where the creativeness, that's where filling in those gaps, where is the knowledge, where is the understanding? Now, to do this, you've got to explore past that initial defensiveness, past this feeling of, oh, I'm hanging on to mine. Because as I said earlier, it doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong. So what we want to be doing is aiming for some kind of what I would call a positive disruption of that status quo. So this is you, this is them. We want to find something that sits fairly comfortably in between with aspects of both. Yeah? With aspects of both. Or be creative enough to ditch both of those and come up with something completely different. Number 9. Now, this is a really solid reminder, and it's a good place for this reminder to go in amongst all that we've already been discussing. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. Usually, we're awesome at avoiding conflict or disagreement, or we sugarcoat everything. We've learned how to be nicely fake, and then what we do is we go off and we have a meeting after the meeting. If what we're doing is being nicely fake, or we're sugarcoating or avoiding the conflict or the disagreement, what we're actually doing is holding back on our personal and our organizational growth. And that means that in the short, medium, and long term, we're actually operating ineffectively. Think about some really genuine honesty and bring that with you. Bring that genuine honesty, bring that genuine desire to achieve a positive outcome into the meeting with you, knowing that it's going to be uncomfortable, because the reality is, if it's uncomfortable, it's working. I know that's weird, but if it's uncomfortable, it's actually working. And it will get better because you're all going to get more and more comfortable with the uncomfortableness and the tension and the emotions, and leaving your ego outside and all those kinds of things that are associated with dealing with conflict in a healthy way. Number 10, identify the root cause of disagreement. Now, often what happens is, particularly if we won't address conflict or disagreement, we don't understand what the root cause is. And often we disagree simply because there's a lack of understanding. I don't understand your viewpoint, you don't understand mine. And what we need is a reference point that is exactly the same. We need to figure out what our common knowledge is. Because otherwise, what we're doing is we're arguing out here, and often that's around the non-essentials, it's around the stuff that isn't important. And if we haven't learned to manage conflict in a healthy way, then what we do is we're arguing out there and the important stuff just gets left. So it's really a good idea to strip things back to the very bare essentials. What is it that we need to agree on here? What do we agree on? What do we not agree on? So that we can look at what's the same and start to build from there. Now, we only need 3 to 5 things maximum, because if we start getting too many things, we've chunked it down too far. So it's about chunking it up a bit and exploring what is the root cause of disagreement and how can we actually overcome that. You can see here that what I'm doing for you is building on these skills one after the other so that you're becoming more and more confident about your ability to handle healthy conflict. Positive disagreement is the other way of looking at it. Number 11, I want you to limit the negative impact that you have with smart language choices. Now, what we know is that language, the words you choose, is only 7% of how communication is actually received. 55% is your nonverbal, 38% is the way that you're using your voice. Those things need to be congruent with the words that you're choosing. Be honest, be direct, resist the temptation to put people down because their perspective is different from yours. We already talked about yes and. Use that and then expand on your conversation. And reframe disagreements because that's a natural result of you working together. So just reframe the disagreements that people have. And you can do that with things like, I was thinking about this idea and would like to discuss a few options to achieve whatever the outcome is. So I was thinking, hey, Susie, I was thinking about the conversation we had yesterday, and I'd like to discuss a few options to achieve a common agreement. Simple reframing. Remember, it's about being respectful, it's about being honest, and it's about being collaborative. That's what we're looking to do here. Number 12, frame up your conversations. Frame up your conversations. Think about what they're going to be like before you begin. Commit to actively listen. Really commit to actively listen. And the reason that this is important is because we naturally favor those who agree with us. It's called the halo effect. So when someone agrees with us, we're smiling, we're nodding, we're naturally favoring them. So for you to actively listen, the first thing for you to think about doing is to focus on the speaker, even if you disagree with them. We're about identifying where that knowledge or understanding gap is so that you can be gently curious and find out what the root cause is, where the issues are, where the points of agreement are, so that you can build on that. Yeah. It also needs to be an open-minded experience. So it's really important that you're willing to learn and you're not just persuading people. So, it's not about pushing people to be persuading. It's actually much more about that gentle curiosity, because that is much better received. Then it's important to set those clear intentions and boundaries before you begin. So remember, it's an exchange of ideas. Remember to acknowledge those differences, to establish that outcome, and to set the tone so that you can decide as a group of people, not win. It's not about winning, it's about contributing to the decision using healthy conflict or positive disagreement as your tool to get there. So have a think about these 12 that I've shared with you today and start thinking, which of these can you utilize? Now, you might find it quite useful to go back and watch a replay again so that you can make more notes about each of them. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got any questions or comments, pop them in the platform that you're watching this on, and we will come back to you and communicate with you. If you're watching a replay, love it if you would put #replay. Now, if you're wanting to improve your ability to communicate with influence, think about joining my 30-day Say It Smarter program. Reach out if you would like more information about how you can really develop rapid rapport with your team and increase the way they communicate, the quality of that communication, and as a result, their performance. Positive disagreement is all about growth. Really happy to spend some more time talking with you about that. Reach out if you need to. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Bye now.